What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is, because people get to know you, they get to see you.
But, you know, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development programme I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews, and also through working with hundreds of owner-managers over the last 10 years or so, into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner-managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer, or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. Super episode today on ScaleUp Radio. I talked with Kate Chastey, who is the franchisor, the owner of The Passionate PA. And boy, is Kate passionate about what she does. And lots of really good things. We really drill into Kate's journey. And this is probably one of the best episodes from the point of view of understanding franchising and why franchising might be the right model for you, because Kate essentially tried all sorts of different ways of working before and growing the business. And eventually, at a chance meeting, really, somebody suggested to her that maybe she should look into franchising. And from that moment on, really, she hasn't looked back. So a really good episode from understanding franchising and where it might fit, but also her journey. And there's been all sorts of ups and downs along the way for Kate as well. Some really good lessons to learn and that we've teased out within this episode. So I definitely encourage you to have a listen. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm here today with Kate Chastey, who is the Passionate PA franchisor. So Kate, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you ever so much. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure, and it's great that we get to talk. I know we've been courting each other for a little while, so it's great to have you on. So, tell us about the Passionate PA. There's a bit of a clue, I think, in what we're about. But what is it? What are you all about?
Absolutely. So the Passionate PA is a small, but I would say perfectly formed franchise run by myself, offering freelance business support. So my hand-picked franchisees offer entrepreneurs and ambitious business leaders not just help to get their to-do list done, but real commercially savvy business support that creates momentum and results.
Fantastic. And so what can you give us an example of the kind of things then that you're doing with your clients?
Absolutely. So the term PA, I guess, is often kind of misconstrued, I would say, these days, in that it's just admin or it's answering the phones or whatever. That is just so far from what a PA or an EA, an executive assistant, should be doing, really, for any particular business. So we offer so much more than that. So, of course, we'll do the time-saving admin stuff if you really need us to. But more than likely, we work with solopreneurs or very small teams, but with huge ambition, who need to outsource a function within their business or a set of responsibilities within their business that are critical to business growth. So they really need doing, but nobody in the team either has the skill, the time, or the inclination to do those things anymore. So the sorts of things we do, I mean, goodness, my franchisees have specialisms in all sorts of things. So if I pick on one particularly, Debbie, she's been with me 7.5 years now. her background is in the engineering sector, is in marketing, is in, making sure businesses are growing at pace. So very, very tight business development controller, really, I would call her. So she helps her clients do exactly that, really get a grip with business development and make sure things are moving in the right direction all the time. So she does blog writing, she does website copy, she creates workable business strategies for clients rather than having these big grand plans. She strips it all back to like 3 little things that you need to do on a very regular basis, and she holds clients to account with that. So yeah, she's a really good example. But then the other franchisees, their experience is huge. So I have one franchisee with lots of experience of preparing businesses for sales. It's quite a specialist area of knowledge, but actually a lot of businesses need it. They just don't know, where to start with that. So it's not necessarily the big advisor they need. It's the extra person in the business to do the due diligence. So that's where Jen comes in. I have an automation specialist on the team. Louise is incredibly good at kind of taking all of your business processes, stripping out all the things you don't need to do and automating all of that with whatever platform you've decided to do that on. So yeah, it's not just admin anymore. It's really not just admin. It was 15 years ago, but it's not now. So yeah, really, really quite exciting stuff we do for clients is the answer to that, Kevin.
Very good. And it sounds like a lot of your clients are in those earlier stages of, as you said, solopreneurs, or possibly with small teams, typically up to 10, something like that, or do you...
Well, there's always a well answer to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think the commonality for all of our clients is that they're entering a growth stage. So it's not, some of them have been around for 20 years, but you can still enter a growth stage after 20 years, can't you? You just have been doing something a certain way and then you decide that you're going to pivot or do something else. So all of our clients are ambitious, all of them are entering a growth stage, and they need extra, brains and people and hands to do the things that are required in the business, but they don't necessarily want to employ, or even if they do want to employ, they can't find the people. So some of them are solopreneurs by design, Kevin. I'm seeing that more and more. I've been doing this for a very long time, and more people are coming to me and saying, I don't ever want to employ, so therefore I need to learn how to outsource effectively. So they're not necessarily new businesses. Sometimes they've been in operation for a good number of years, 3, 4, 5 years upwards, but they're just, they've got a plan and they need someone to help them deliver that plan. So yeah, that's probably what's similar across them all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we work with lots of business owners, and one of the key challenges in those early stages is getting yourself out of doing so much of the work being in the business, isn't it? And finding the right things to delegate things that you shouldn't be doing. And it's not necessarily just the admin task, is it? But the point is, am I best off doing this type of activity or focusing on something else that might be a bit more impactful on the business, a bit more strategic, a bit more value add? But it sounds like also you've got that element of specialist support with some of your people with specialist skills.
It's a really it's something we do so regularly with clients, is they come to us saying, there's not enough time in the day, I need to, have someone do some stuff. But actually, it's my job as the franchisor to dig a bit deeper underneath all of that and say, but what is it that you as the business leader need to focus on? What is it that only you can do? Because everything else can be delegated, whether it's to an employee, just scrapping it. I believe in delegation and not doing stuff at all, actually, but that's a whole other podcast probably. But also, delegating to outsource, freelancers, whatever your terminology is for them. So it's a big part of our job, is helping clients understand what they should be doing themselves and only they should be doing, total control, total uniqueness for them, and what they can do with everything else, really. So we have a tool, actually, a free tool, if anybody would like it, to help people understand what their area of awesomeness is, if that's even a thing, what they should be doing.
Area of awesomeness. I like that.
It's a whole new thing. Yeah, read it up. What they should be doing, and then it's like a quadrant that people fill in about what they do on a daily, weekly, and monthly, and even yearly basis. Because let's face it, we all do things on, that we have to do throughout the year that we don't necessarily enjoy. So it helps people create that list of everything that happens in their business, identify what only they should be doing, and then it gives you that kind of matrix of, okay, so everything else can go to another person, another human being, if you put in the effort to brief them well enough. And so that free download is available on the website, but I'm happy to give it to whoever needs it, because it's such a powerful space to be in. Even if you don't do anything about it to start off with, just knowing what you should delegate is a really powerful thing.
Great. Well, we'll make sure we've got that link in the show notes, or I'll ask you at the end as to how we get that to people listening. That sounds really good. And of course, you mentioned it there. You know, one of the objections that I'm sure you hear and we hear is, it'll take me longer to brief somebody else to do it than it would for me to just do it. What's your how do you respond?
My answer is to laugh. No, I'm joking. It's not at all. No, I do hear it all the time. Of course I do. And normally by the time you're really at the end of your tether saying, I've got to outsource this, it's a bit too late, because you're then in a frantic space to do that, which is really, really not productive for you or the human being that you want to work with. So yes, it might take you some time. It shouldn't take you longer to brief someone ultimately than doing it yourself, but it will take you some time, and you have a responsibility to do that. If you want something done really, really well, and you want your relationship with your freelancer to work well, you have a responsibility to brief them well. The number of times I've heard, well, my VA or my freelancer didn't work out because of X, Y, and Z. And, you dig a little deeper and you find out whether they actually had really good communication and briefing from the client side. And the answer is always no. It's just always, you could have done better yourself. So there's, yes, it will take time. Of course it will. There's nothing that can get you away from that. But once you've done it, the real power is on the other side of that pain barrier, isn't it? So a bit like everything in life, you have to put in the effort to reap the rewards. It's as simple as that. There's no magic answer for it at all. But the thing I'd say about passionate PAs particularly is that, we're incredibly commercially savvy. We're not administrators. So if you say to us, I need to automate X, Y, and Z in my business, I don't know where to start, the probability is that we would know where to start. So yes, you could do it yourself if you really wanted to put the time in, but actually going to a specialist freelancer like us will probably take you less time and less effort in the long run, although there will be a bit of a pain barrier to let go.
Yeah, and as you say, the benefit is on the other side of that. And if it's something that's saving you, I don't know, an hour a week, or if it's a regular repeating task, and you maybe it takes you 3 or 4 hours to brief it out in the first place, but it only takes you 3 or 4 weeks before actually you've got the payback. Yeah,
absolutely. The payback is always there ultimately.
All right, good. So how does the business model work for you? It's a franchise business, isn't it? So how do you make money, and how do your franchisors
me personally make money? So that's a really nice question. Okay, so the Passionate PA is a franchise because, for all sorts of reasons, different growth models didn't work. Maybe we'll come on to that later. But I had a business model that worked really, really well for me. So I worked as a freelance PA, freelance business support professional, myself alone, for a good 6 years before franchising it, and realised I had something special. The way I was doing it was very different. I did concentrate on my own profit margins, very, very unusual in this industry that I work within. I did concentrate on client happiness, and I did deliver something above what was average, back in, I don't know, 2012 kind of time. So I knew I was making money as a solo person. I was making really, really good money on my own. My profit margin was massive because there are no overheads in our businesses. So when I realized I needed other people to do what I do, and I kind of stumbled across franchising. That's a whole other story that we might come back to as well. And actually, my expertise now are spent investing in the franchisees that I bring into the business. As I mentioned earlier, they are handpicked. I do not take everybody that comes my way. And I teach them how to be business owners, Kevin. I don't teach them how to be good PAs. They come knowing that. What they don't know is how to make money from it. So I teach them how to do that. So the money for me comes in that startup package as a franchise. They all pay an initial fee, and then they pay 10% of their turnover to the franchise for the support that we deliver. And that support comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So officially, it's the mentoring and the business support and a bit of marketing and a bit of this, that, and the other. What it really is me on tap 24/7. I shouldn't tell the world that, but that is what actually happens, because I massively believe in the people that join the business, and I'll give them everything I've got to help them be successful. And that creates a huge differentiator for us, because that's not how most franchises operate. And also, not most franchises in our sector can't say that they get people to where they want to be within 3 months, but I do. So, people join the business going, oh my God, where's the first client going to come from? And within 3 months, they've normally hit their first milestone, which, I help people create for themselves. Again, there are no massive targets within the Passionate PA. People come to me and they say, I need to work X number of hours a week because, all of these other things going on in my life. And sometimes that's 16 hours and sometimes it's 40 hours. It completely depends on the individual. And I build their business with them. And that's really unique. So yeah, we have passionate PAs earning $2,000 a month, and we have passionate PAs earning, 7.5. It's completely up to the individual, but I still give them the same amount of effort because I believe that's important. So that's how I make money. And then the franchisees obviously make money by charging, decent hourly rates to clients, but also delivering impeccable value too. So that's something that kind of goes through the whole business. So yeah, we make good money. I'm not a millionaire, but I also don't want to be. I don't want to be. The franchise is deliberately small because I really want it to be, something that I can nurture. And then when the time is right, I'll hand it over to hopefully a franchisee that's coming up through the ranks and ready to take it on to its third growth phase, hopefully.
Okay, so that's the exit plan, and we might come on to that in a what sort of, can you give us an idea of scale? I don't know, maybe number of franchisees, or what's whatever.
So at the moment there's 9 at the moment, and I'd say I've been properly franchising for probably about 4 years. There was the first kind of 1 or 2 years where you're kind of going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Is this right? I don't know what I'm doing. But probably, 4 or 5 years probably doing it right. And then obviously life gets in the way. But I only want 4 franchisees a year, 4 or 5 franchisees a year now. So the growth, we're set for growth now. There was a lot of development time in, so Debbie, for example, she's been with me just over 7 years. And in her first kind of 3 or 4 years, there was a lot of development time as to what the franchise really offered and really shaping it. She was pivotal in helping me shape it, actually. And another franchisee, Dominique, who is not with us now, not with me now, because she's gone off to have a family and run a different business, but she's still one of my best friends in the world. Both of them were very pivotal in helping me shape what the franchise could offer, and being very, very different to what else is on the market as well.
Tell us about that. What is it that makes you different from? Because there clearly are. I mean, I hate to mention it, but there are other PA firms around.
Other franchises available. There are a lot of other PA firms, but there are also a lot of other franchises. And I think when somebody's looking for a business opportunity, when they've got the kind of skills that are right for the passionate PA, you could actually apply or, invest your money in quite a lot of different franchises, from, just a business of any description doing something operational, right through to, almost business coaching, because there is that element in what we do. So, why pick us? And the team tell me it is because of the culture and the way that we present ourselves to the world, which I think is a really special thing. Massive compliment to me as well, because that all comes from my head. So that always makes me laugh, that I think, oh yeah, I did that myself. And it's the support they get, like second to none. It's the support they get, because no franchisee will ever walk into our business and just go through the initial training and then be left alone, like ever. Unless they tell me to go away, I will not go away. I will help you get to whatever you've told me your turnover target is. I'll help you get there as quick as possible, and then shape the client set that you have around the life that you want, which I think is very unique. Most businesses, again, are just about the profit margins, aren't they? But this business is about living your best life. Because of the history we have, it's very important to me that everybody enjoys the work that they do in the time that they've got on this planet. So I think it's a lot about the culture and the style in which we work, which is very connected as a franchise. We don't have franchisee of the month and all this competitiveness with each other. Like, that is just so far from the business I want to run, I can't even put it into words. So I think new franchisees feel that immediately when they speak to me. So.
Okay, and what about what separates you in terms of in your client's eyes in the way that you work with business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think they tell me again all the time when I speak to clients, it's about elevating above what's normal. Like, we do not do the traditional admin kind of work that most of our I'm going to use the word competitors, particularly sole trader competitors, are offering. We just don't do that work anymore because mostly it can be automated. And if you're not automating it, then you're missing a trick. Yeah. So we do kind of the next level up from that. We offer the business growth kind of thinking that is so unique. Like, we're kind of that middle ground between the doer that you need and the business coach. You need a middle ground between that. We've all sat with our business coaches and, heard their amazing plans. And then you're like, yeah, but how? Like, who is going to do that work for me to get from from A to B? So who's going to do that? And the answer is a passionate PA. Once they're on board with you, like, we really just run with whatever it is you've tasked us with, the project or whatever. It's never just a transactional relationship at all. So we've had clients that stay with us through their growth curve, as it were, and then kind of start again at the beginning and say, well, I can't not have a passionate PA, so we're just going to do something else with you. So some clients stay for years and years and years. I think our longest standing one is actually 15 years.
Gosh, yeah.
It's quite a long time. Yeah, it's quite a long time.
Very good. Okay, well, let's go back then. What got you started? Take us through the beginnings.
Well, I had a love of all creative things and marketing when I was at uni, went to uni. So studied marketing, kind of loved that, but I was in the year where they first started talking about social media, and I scrapped all of those lectures because I never thought it'd take off. So slightly regretting that once I'd left uni. No, so I did marketing, and I now am, a chartered marketeer and all of that jazz. And I started agency life, as you would call it these days, started working at advertising agencies, and kind of loved the business side of it and the creative side of it, but really hated agency life, like the bitchiness of it and, the backstabbing. It just was not for me. So kind of then moved into kind of project management, and then just by complete fluke, my husband came home from work one day, said he'd been out networking and met this amazing woman and that I should really look her up on the internet and find out all about her. And that was an incredible lady called Sarah Howes, who was running The Passionate PA. And I just fell in love with the name instantly, because I was like, that's what I do day in and day out. I'm passionate about everything. I'm everybody's PA because I have this amazing ability to get stuff done. And I want to be one. Where do I sign up? But she was, doing it entirely on her own, well ahead of the current, everybody's turning to freelancing growth curve. So she'd stepped off her corporate ladder working as a PA for a recruitment agency. I don't know, that must have been 2007. I think she did that, and she'd run the business alone for a bit and was doing really, really well. I mean, the reputation she had in Dorset was astonishing. You can go networking in Dorset, ask people if they know Sarah Howes, and they'll still say yes. So she had an incredible ability to get people on her, mission to change the world. And she was on a mission to change the world with freelance business support. Mm-hmm. So I met her and, was like tentatively, can I join you? How do I become one? And she was like, I don't know, like, let's just wing it and see what happens. Just do a bit of sideline work for me, which I did for a while. And then she asked me to join The Passionate PA properly, still as a self-employed person, but actually become part of the team. And so she kind of gave me that ultimatum and pushed me to make that decision. And so I did. But sadly, she got diagnosed with breast cancer about the same time. And she was one of the most incredible people you've ever come across in your life. And she was so ready to fight it. And she did for a few months, but sadly, it, just wasn't destined to be. And she died of pneumonia because of complications with the cancer. That was in the March, and I'd quit my job at the end of February. So I had kind of 17 days with her to some description. And then she'd decided that she wanted the Passionate PA to live on and that I needed to take the reins. And that was an incredibly scary thing. At 26, I was walking in very big shoes. Like she was an incredibly powerful woman, and I wasn't. 26, I knew nothing about nothing, and I was very nervous of everything. And it took me a long time to realize that the Passionate PA could be mine, and not just her legacy, I think. Spent a good 3 years kind of sitting with what they now call imposter syndrome, but of course I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. So the first 3 or 4 years were very, very difficult, if I'm honest, Kevin. Very, very difficult personally. They were incredibly successful for the business because I was bringing all these skills and all this ability to make money to the brand, which was wonderful. So to the outside world, it looked like I was having the best time ever. I had this amazing brand. I had Sarah's legacy. I was doing great client work. I was doing projects in Antigua. I was living my best life to the outside world. But on the inside, I was really struggling to not, to just fill her shoes, really. It was really tricky. Sorry,
did you say you were living in Antigua?
No, I did a project in Antigua. So literally living the best freelance life ever. I went out there for 2.5 weeks to do something and was paid pretty much for every hour I was awake, which was really good. So to the outside world, it looked really great. But for me as an individual, it was really tough. So a lot of growth and self-learning there for me. And then finally coming to terms with the fact that I could make the Passionate PA what I wanted it to be and not kind of keep within what her vision for it was. And of course, looking back now, I know as a seasoned business owner, she didn't really have a vision. We were winging it every single day. We were winging it. But I felt like I needed to follow her vision for a while, which was to have associates. So all businesses like ours kind of follow the associate model where they bring people in on an hourly rate or a day rate or whatever it is, but there's no real control. And that was something that just didn't sit well with me, because you can't control the brand, you can't control how the clients see the whole business and stuff. So then I went down the employing route. Oh my God, that was a disaster. Oh gosh.
So was that one? Did you find one of your best associates and persuade them to come as an employee?
No. I took on a huge client that needed kind of daily, what we would now call very administrative work. I mean, you'd really automate the whole thing now, but back in those early days, they wanted a human to pick up the phone and answer every inquiry and all of those things. So I took on this big piece of work. So I recruited 2 ladies to help me do that. And they were lovely, absolutely lovely. But I am not a good people manager at that level. It's just, I care far too much. A prime example was it started to snow one day. So I sent them both home to go and play with their kids in the snow. And I ended up being snowed in my own office overnight, having to do all the work that they were doing. And the work I was meant to do. So it was just a lot to deal with, looking after people. I'm not very good at that level of people management. So I swiftly decided that wasn't for me. And then we lost the contract as well, not because we did anything wrong, but because the business decided to really just take a complete change in direction. Right. So the client's business changed in direction. So that was fun. I didn't go back to doing that after that.
Then had to go through the process of letting them go, presumably.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that was heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. It was a redundancy because we'd lost the contract that they were working on, but it was also just the level of responsibility you feel as a human being for letting someone go. It's just so tough. It's so tough. So that was not a great experience for me again. It sounds like I've had terrible experiences in business, isn't it? But I haven't really. But
we've all. This is the point, isn't it? We've all had. People love to look at a successful business owner and go, well, they've had it easy, or they've had an easy journey. I don't think anybody does. No. There's always
plenty of battle scars. Yeah. So and then after that, I was part of a kind of a peer-to-peer learning group, I suppose, and one of the kind of things that we always discussed was growth and how we were going to grow each other's business. Everybody was going to grow their businesses. And this solicitor, who'd only been part of the group a little while, kind of said to me, well, why don't you think about franchising or licensing? Like, get on with it, Kate. If you don't want to employ, but you want to grow, you need to find another growth model. And it was literally a 5-minute conversation. And I can't even tell you who the solicitor was now, but it changed my entire life. So yeah, on the way home, I kind of went, well, yeah, how hard can it be? Like, let's give that a whirl. Let's Google franchising when we get home. So I did that, and yeah, just started kind of down this merry path of, oh, okay, well, I understand what a franchise is now. Let's package up all the things I know, put it into a manual, sell the license to be a passionate PA, and kind of give them some support and hope for the best.
Well, let's unpick that.
It was going to be that easy.
Having been through some of the journey myself as well. Yes. When was this? When was this?
Oh, so when was that? So it was probably 2013, 14, something like that. Yeah. So just decided to give it a go. And I didn't take on any franchise specialist knowledge, advisor or anything at the time. I just thought I'd, just try and build it myself. I was one of those people let's just try and build it ourselves, step by step. It doesn't have to be quick. Just has to be going in the right direction. So I did, and I did build a franchise all by myself. I did not have any other input. I did build a franchise. I sold my first. Well, I had the pilot franchisee, which was Dominique, the lady I mentioned earlier, who had just sent her CV into me, didn't even know we were offering franchises, and kind of went, I just want to be a passionate PA. She did exactly what I'd done to Sarah, essentially. And we went for a drink, and I loved her immediately. So I offered her a franchise on the spot, and I went, but there's a big caveat. It's a pilot franchise. Don't really know what I'm doing. We're just going to make it up as we go along and see how that works out. It might all fall over. And she was ready to take the risk as well. She's a year younger than me, so we were both ready to take that risk, and it was a huge risk. If it had failed,
and was she prepared? Was she prepared to invest financially in it as well, or did you have to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so she didn't invest anywhere near what the investment is now, but yes, it was I can't even remember, a couple of grand to just kind of get us up and running. And then again, she had me on speed dial for everything. We did some work together, which I still do with franchisees now, to kind of nurture clients and teach them how I do things, which is always useful, I think, to new people coming into the business. And we had a ball, literally the 3-4 years that she was that pilot franchisee were just so much fun, because we were building it together and we'd created this friendship, and that doesn't always happen with first franchisees, I know. So yeah, it was a really good time for growing the business, and I built a lot of confidence in that time as well. It was a changing time for me as a business leader. And then I found my first franchisee, Debbie. She was a proper paying one, and with a license, with a franchise agreement and everything.
So the franchise agreement came after Dominique.
Yes. Don't tell all the professional people that. But yeah, I mean, Dom and I had kind of a mutual agreement, but it wasn't, legally binding at all. But yes, then I did invest in some solicitors' advice, but it wasn't franchise solicitors' advice. And I got my first agreement sorted out, and Debbie signed that, and away we went. And she's still with me today. But there are a lot of things I would do differently if I could go back there, Kevin. And finding a franchise solicitor from day one would be right up there with that. Because,
I thought that might be coming. So is there a particular reason?
Just because franchise, the legalities around franchise and the structure of franchises is very, very different from pretty much all commercial law. It's just different. You have to have specialist knowledge. And so when you're creating a franchise agreement, a normal lawyer can do it, but they don't know enough to do it really, really well and stop you getting caught out, 3 years down the line. So I mean, my first solicitor, she was lovely and it was all wonderful, but it just wasn't right. So it needed to be growth ready, which is then why I got myself a proper solicitor, proper franchise solicitor that could really help me think about where the business needed to be in 5 and 10 years time, so rather than just what's right for now. So tricky one.
Good. So what else did you learn about that evolving franchise? Because I think that's really interesting, because other franchisors that I've talked to have gone the more formal route. So they've had franchise consultants helping them almost to in a
From day one.
relatively short period of time, try and get the package all sorted and done. But inevitably, even then, with your first franchisee or two, you still learn and you still change things. So, how have you evolved then over those years? What's different now? Maybe
what's different now? The difference is the kind of structure and the stability behind the business. I think back then, when I was like, oh, I need to grow the business, this, franchising looks like it might be the way. I didn't have any concept of that there was an entire industry around franchising. I had no idea. And the people that I had met from franchising were, older chaps wearing grey suits. It was not my thing, lovely as they are, I'm sure, but they weren't very welcoming to me being, not yet 30, I don't think. And, a bit of a flowery girl, like literally just a really big personality woman, and they, it didn't feel like I fit. I do now. The franchise industry has changed hugely, but back then I wasn't ready to be part of a big community and get that advice. I didn't have the money to get that advice either, Kevin. It costs a fortune to franchise your business with specialist advice. But I knew it was the right model. Something in me said it was the right model, and if I just took it slowly and made some mistakes, that's fine. Like, I'm up for making mistakes. We learn from them, don't we? It was all part of my growth curve, I think, as a human and as a leader. I needed to go through that in order to be the franchisor I am today, because it makes me understand the people coming into the business much more, because I've built close relationships with them. And now, we're so structured in the way that I can onboard a franchisee that it's pretty seamless. Like, it takes my time, yes, but it doesn't take my time like it used to right at the beginning, where, I was writing every single training slide from scratch every single time. Now it's all streamlined, it's all done. The manual's amazing. They get access to all this e-learning platform that's all been set up already. All the investment has already happened. So now it's much easier to bring people into the business. And I know I've got the right, legal footing behind me. And I do have a franchise mentor now. As you know, lovely Ian introduced us. And he again just, appeared to me like an epiphany one day. I didn't go searching for him at all. But he's been with me ever since and made an incredible difference to how I run the business because of his franchise knowledge. So he's sat on the BFA board and all of those things, and offers me that insight and challenge on a regular basis. And I really like that. And sometimes he offers me challenge and says, Kate, we should be doing this as a franchise, or says we might like to do this. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to do it like that. And I tell him I don't want to, because I don't want to be a typical franchise. I don't want to be, what other, just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for me. So I like to choose what we do. I think that's a really important part of building the business. So, but having his expertise is priceless. So obviously everybody should have a mentor, but I didn't have mine right at the beginning.
Very good. So what are some of the other ups and downs that you've had over the franchise?
One of the biggest ups are really, bringing someone into the business. They're nervous. They, have invested this money. They don't know if they're going to get clients. They all come saying, I don't know if people are really going to want to pay me to do anything, Kate. Do I really know anything? And then within like 3 months, they've got a beautiful business. It's starting to really take shape. They've met their first franchise, their first financial goal, and seeing them just blossom is just so rewarding. It's so incredibly rewarding. It's the stuff I live for, to see them go, Kate, I think this is actually going to work. I mean, it's just so funny because like I've already invested hours and hours and hours into them, but 3 months in they go, I think it's actually going to be okay. And that just makes me smile every time. So the biggest ups are absolutely seeing the franchisees really, really believe in themselves like that. That's incredibly rewarding. And the biggest downs have always been when, it doesn't work out for whatever reason. It's not always, down to anybody's fault. Just sometimes it doesn't work out, and it can be really sad. I don't take it personally so much anymore, but it is still sad when you've both invested so much in a business, and then they're going their separate ways for whatever reason. That's sad.
And how do you? I mean, you mentioned that you very much handpick your franchisees. how do you go about working out whether they're going to be right for you and you're going to be right for them? What sort of things do you do?
Oh, well, it literally starts with the first communication. And I can often tell from the way they first choose to communicate with me whether they'd be a good passionate PA or not. Okay. So there are no, right at the beginning, there isn't a form to fill in to register your interest or anything like that. Like the franchisees, potential franchisees, are given free rein to contact me how they like. And, I'm not exactly a shrinking violet. You can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram, I'm everywhere. Go find me and make contact in a way that you think is appropriate. And sometimes it's just hilarious. Literally hilarious. You get little messages on Instagram. I'd like to make £25 an hour, please. Can you give me a job? No. How about you go away? And then, there's people that have done their due diligence and they have stalked every single thing on the internet about me. And then they send me a beautiful letter that is, pretty much their life story and why they now want to be a passionate PA. And those people are already completely and utterly emotionally connected to the brand because they've done all this thinking about it. So how do I pick them? I'm testing them from the minute that they contact me is the answer. Yeah. And then we do have a very, very structured process with the help of Ian. We've created that where they do an initial call, which is very informal and it's still with me. A lot of franchises would outsource that first call. I never do that. Like, that is a complete waste of everybody's time, I believe, because they're going to work with me. So there's no point in my PA doing that call because the potential passionate PA has to work with me.
Yeah.
So we have that initial call. That's normally only 30 minutes, unless I really, really like them. And then we're still on the phone an hour and a half later. Yeah. So we have that initial call. And then we have a much bigger, more structured call, which I call the discovery session, where I teach them lots of things about the passionate PA. Together, we kind of delve into how that would fit with their life. So I think that's really important. It's not just a job. This is a business opportunity and it has to fit with your entire life. So we talk about their support, structures around them, their families set up, whether they are able to run this kind of business. And then after that, there's, a big homework session. Sometimes I call that homeworks and wine because they have to do lots of tasks and then they have to go and drink wine with me if they're into wine. Tea is fine too. And then it's the onboarding process, lots of reference checking and that kind of stuff, because that is important. If you've not got a single employer that would say anything kind about you, then you probably need to wonder why. But equally, employers can be funny sometimes. I appreciate that too. So there's a whole process, and then by the end of that process, I have made a decision, either yes or no. And you asked about what are the worst bits of this earlier. What are the down moments? And sometimes the down moments are going through that entire process and me not being sure that person is capable of it, so having to let them down gently, and that's really sad. And I always try and give them as much feedback as I can, and I really wish them well in whatever they're going to go and do. But if I can see that they're not right for this business, but they might be right for another franchise, I would always encourage them to go and have a look at another franchise. But letting people down when they've invested so much emotionally in becoming connected to the passionate PA is really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. But equally, I'm sure it's better to do it then than it is to go a bit further and then fail further down the line.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Yeah. And why would somebody, so as you said at the beginning, there's lots of people that set up on their own as a one person PA. Yep. Why would they come through you and buy a franchise?
A very good question. The answer to that is that they want to do more than just they can do on their own. So when people set up on their own, the drivers are normally, I want to make good money, I want to have a flexible working routine, I want to be around for my family, but I don't want a boss. And that's all grand, that's all lovely. But it will take you months and months, if not years, because I've been there and done it, to really understand what you need to do to make good money, to hit good profit margins, to keep on top of everything, to make sure you're doing your business development, your marketing, as well as running your clients. It is a really tricky thing to do successfully very quickly. So buying into a franchise, all of that thinking and business modeling is done for you. You literally walk in to me going, okay, you do X, Y, Z, and you're going to be successful. That's literally, it's a tried and tested model. And everybody that follows it manages to achieve what they want to achieve within the first 3 months, because that's how the business is set up. So yes, there's money to invest in the short term, but you get your money back within 3 months. I mean, why would you not do that? And if you're going it alone, your first client can take ages to come, and then you're going to get your ideal clients. It's a massive part of our training for franchisees is teaching them what their ideal client looks like. Nobody knows the answer to that when they start their training with me. Nobody. They're all like, oh, I think I'd like to work with, what do I normally get? People in the creative sector. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but like artists don't have any money. Let's think about this a little bit more strategically. So creatives can be, and then we go off down a rabbit hole of finding creatives that have got money to spend on business support. So yeah, it's a lovely
so it's not
masterclass.
So it's not a case of you go, here's the passionate PA ideal client. It's a case of helping them to work out the ideal client for them that works with passionate PA.
Absolutely. So all of our clients, so the brand's clients, would be ambitious business leaders. Like that is the key thing. They're all ambitious. They're all doing very well in business already, but they need an extra brain, extra pair of hands, all of those things. And passionate PAs come with an array of skills. No two passionate PAs are ever the same. So each of their ideal clients will be different, which as a business, that gives us massive power, because somebody can come to me and say, Kate, I do X, Y, Z, and I need a passionate PA that can do whatever this is. And sometimes it's so niche, but we can still help. And the bigger the team gets, the more likely we are to still be able to help. Yeah. So that's really good. But when you're a solo freelancer, it's really hard to do that. And every solo freelancer will tell you that marketing is the hardest thing, because nobody wants to shout about themselves and say they're brilliant at something. That we just don't do that as a nation. We're not very good at putting our hands up and going, I'm brilliant at whatever it is. So marketing always feels a bit icky. And I think one of the biggest things I teach people is it's not icky at all. It's reputation management. It's ensuring you've got income in the next 3 months and the next 3 years, never mind like what you're doing today. So there's many reasons to choose a franchise over going it alone. But the biggest blocker, of course, is that big chunk of money at the beginning. But you soon make it back, and many times over in your first year.
Can I ask what sort of investment we're talking about?
Yeah, it's just over $6,000 at the moment.
Okay, so it's not a ridiculous amount of money by any means, is it? But it's still
not at all. But it's still a hefty chunk, to people that are coming out of business, employed roles where they've earned like, I don't know, 30, 35, 40k a year. It's still quite a lot of money if you haven't got it, in your savings pot somewhere. But there are other ways of getting it. There are lots of business loans and things that you can use. But if you really want a business rather than just something part-time and flexible, then it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah,
definitely.
And have you tracked the numbers in terms of how many of those initial calls that you might have that go through to actually finding a franchisee?
Ooh, well, not this year, because as you know, I've had a little bit of a personal curveball this year. But yeah, normally it's really, really high. It's really high because people only get to that initial call if they've sent me a really lovely introduction. Right. And, I can see that they've done their homework, and my PA does send them some stuff to read, and then they go and book the call. Because if they aren't really even aware of what the opportunity is, then there's no point in talking to me, is there? So there's a little bit of work that they have to do before they get to the call. But equally, by the time they get to that call, I'd say it's probably, well, this year I haven't done so many because I've been on compassionate leave, but it's probably 50%. I'd say 50% of them actually go through all the way through the process and be compassionate.
And are you outward bound marketing for franchisees at all, or is it all inward bound? It's all, you've got stuff up there?
We do. We do lots of different things. I mean, one of the things that I don't do is the franchise directory sites. Like, they're just not right for us, because my franchisees, the people that come to me saying they want to be a passionate PA, don't already know about franchising. Like 99% of the time, people are going, oh, franchise, what's that then? Like, I have to fill in the blanks. So they understand the brand, they understand the model that we work as a team, but everybody's self-employed, but they don't understand what the business model is behind. And if they do, and they understand what the word franchising is. They think McDonald's or Subway or any of the huge franchises that are out there. They don't understand that smaller businesses often use this model to grow, effectively. So the big franchise listing sites just don't work for us, because there are no potential franchisees searching for us on there, because they don't know it's a thing. So we do a lot of social media advertising, a lot of just getting finding the right people just through networking, communications. My LinkedIn, people stalk my LinkedIn all the time. It's hilarious. People should turn on their private settings if they don't want me to know that they're stalking.
Brilliant. Good. So what's the legacy that you want to leave? You mentioned, at some point you might hand over as an exit plan, but what's the legacy that you want to leave? Obviously, Sarah left her legacy, and you've carried that on and developed it further. What's the legacy you want to leave?
So I definitely want it to live on. Like, even when I don't imagine leaving the business for a very long time. I'm only not even 40 yet. But when I do, I'd love it to be a passionate PA that has, worked a little bit as a passionate PA and then got hungry for more. And I'd like that person to take it on into its next guise, whatever it looks like. But I also think that they will need some handover, because I didn't have a handover, and that was probably the hardest thing. So I will try and give them the best handover possible, and let them shape the business into what they think it needs to be, according to the economy, market, what clients are requiring in that moment. So I would really like it to live on well beyond me, because I think there's always going to be a need for human business support, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And would you see that as a sort of almost like a franchisee buyout sort of thing, management buyout idea?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Ian said to me the other day, actually, I wonder if all the franchisees should buy the entire business. I was like, well, let's hold on there. Maybe in time. I don't know. There's always a solution to whatever, isn't there? So whether it's one franchisee that's coming up through the ranks, or whether it's a selection of them that want to do it, or all of them together, I don't know. There will definitely be an option. What I'm very sure we won't do is have any kind of external, money hungry kind of investor come in to start taking over. The support that the franchisees get is absolutely critical, and so whoever takes it on needs to be able to give the franchisees the kind of support that I do. So
Brilliant. So where do you want to be in 5 years' time then? What is it? if we arrange now to get in our diaries for 5 years, what are you going to be telling me then? What does good look like?
What does good look like? Good looks like probably another 10 franchisees, maybe 20 franchisees, 25 franchisees maximum is the where I want to be, because I know that I could handle that. But you know what, Kevin, I'm going to be really challenging and say that I want to be right here. I love what I do. I live in what I would call my forever house on the middle of Dartmoor. I have a lovely, beautiful life that I've worked bloody hard for. And so I just want to continue to run a business that serves my franchisees and serves our clients, and have a lot of fun along the way, because life is too damn short just to chase the money. And I believe that for all sorts of different reasons, Sarah being one of them. Yeah. So just really enjoying what I'm doing. Success to me is enjoying every moment and not focusing on the really difficult stuff, and only doing the things I love. I'm one of those believers that you should delegate the things you don't enjoy. So I don't do the things I don't enjoy, and that creates a very different way of looking at work and working for a living, particularly.
Yeah, no, you're giving me chills, and I love that. With the story that you've already taken us through from, as well, at that point where essentially you were working really hard, doing well on your own, but you've learned from the hard place in a way that's not what you wanted long term.
Absolutely. It's incredibly hard to, I remember working on my own and feeling so lonely, and that's a lot of what the freelance community say now. It's so incredibly lonely working alone. And with the passionate PA, I think all franchisees would say they never feel alone. They've never had the opportunity to feel alone, because if I'm not on the end of the phone, somebody else is in the WhatsApp group going, "Oh my God, look at this meme, it's hilarious." So you're never alone, because there's always Team Passionate PA behind you. So and I think that's my biggest legacy, isn't it? Is helping those people have a career that they really love. So.
Fantastic. Been really, really insightful, really interesting talking with you. Are you up for a couple of quick fire sort of questions before we close?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Good. So if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Believe in yourself way more and don't sweat the small stuff. Stop worrying.
Nice. Love it. Any books or podcasts or other sort of learning resources that have made a real difference for you that you'd recommend?
Yes. Now you're going to challenge me. So anything by Brené Brown. She was absolutely life-changing for me when I was going through some real changes in my style of leadership. So Brené Brown, mad Texan lady, she believes in heart-centered leadership, and that was an absolute revelation for me because I didn't even know that was a thing. So anything from her, Dare to Lead was probably the best book that made the biggest impact on my career. Yeah.
Super, thank you. Are there any particular apps or bits of software that you find very useful in the business that you'd recommend to others?
Everything and nothing, Kevin, in the greatest sense. There's so many out there. You have to be really sure what ones you're.
What are the ones that you've?
What are the ones that I love the most? I love Calendly for its simplicity and its perfection when you use it right. A lot of people don't use it right. Pieces of there's so many. I can't pick one. Canva would be my go-to. Life it would not be the same if I didn't have Canva.
Great. So Calendly and Canva, and when we've and there's probably the rest of the alphabet beyond C to go for as well.
There's so many. There's so many. I use a piece of software at the moment called Airtable. Have you come across that?
I don't think I have actually.
Airtable's fabulous. It's like spreadsheets on steroids, but pretty spreadsheets. And it's awesome for database for organising what you would normally put in a spreadsheet in such a different and user-friendly way. So definitely worth looking at Airtable. All
right, I'll take a look. I think I may know the answer to this one, but who's had the most influence on you as a leader?
As a leader, oh gosh, I don't know. Probably Ian Bradley, my lovely mentor. But yeah, I take influences from all sorts of places. So a lot of my clients have had a huge impact on me as a leader. So when I was still doing a lot of client work, their journeys have massively impacted me, and their failures. It hasn't all been good. So.
And obviously Sarah's had a big impact as well.
Absolutely, bless her. Yes, but not as a leader. as a business owner starting from the beginning. Yes, I would not be here if it was not for her and her belief in me that I could take the business forward. But I'm not sure she ever believed that I would get it to where it is today. I'm not even sure she would have even thought about it. So, yeah. Brilliant.
And last one really on these around marketing tactics. So from a finding franchisees point of view, then lots of stalking, lots of internet. What about from your clients, from your franchisees perspective in terms of what they do to find their own clients? What's the key tactics?
So the key tactics are networking and LinkedIn at the moment. Right. So there's a lot of talk about whether LinkedIn really is still the one platform you need to be on, but I'm firmly in the box that it absolutely is. Like, we get so much business from LinkedIn. When you do it well, it's absolutely invaluable. So, and it's free. Like, why wouldn't you put effort into something that was free? So yeah, for sure.
Good. And are there any particular, because there's all sorts of networking that we can do, aren't there? Are there any particular types that you found more effective than others?
So again, there's a big discussion in the team. So some of us love face-to-face networking, proper, what we would now see as pre-COVID networking. You go out for lunch and you talk to people and, you see people. I am a massive fan of online networking, groups like Only. I don't know if you've come across them. They are incredible. Kelly and James West run that group, and I think it's wonderful. I absolutely think it's wonderful. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of online networking because it's short, sweet, to the point. You get to do what you need to do and meet a lot of people. But there are so many. I mean, the team support a huge number of networking groups. So, I could, too long to mention.
Brilliant. No, well, it's been delightful having you on, Kate, and I've learned a lot as well. So thank you very much indeed for sharing your story on ScaleUp Radio today. If people would like to contact you or find out more about Passionate PA, and you mentioned that particular tool as well earlier on, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Absolutely. So I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. So come and find me on LinkedIn, Kate Chastey. It's a bit of a weird spelling, but you'll find me if you just Google the Passionate PA even. Send me a message if you'd like that delegation tool. Very happy to send that to you. And just say hello. Also very happy just to say hello and share some knowledge if I can. Yeah,
but don't send a WhatsApp with have you got a job for £25 an hour, please?
No, because I will. Well, I will always answer. I always answer, but it does depend on, my sarcasm depends on how many gins I may have had on a Friday night, for example. No, brilliant. It's all good.
Kate, thank you very much indeed for being my guest today.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.